Libra. Now, you guys are the relationship sign. So relationships are par for the course for you. And beginning right now and continuing for the next decade, relationships are going to be a heavy emphasis for you, but perhaps not in the way that you think. This is all about structure. This is all about newness. It's all about forging relationships that are arguably a little more mature. And I mean, no shade by that. So, if you want to know more about what 2026 has in store for you, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, my name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this video is all about the yearly astro forecast for the sign of Libra Rising. So, by way of logistics, I do all of my horoscopes traditionally, meaning that they're done by rising sign. It's not to say that you can't find any information here if you are a Libra sun. However, this information really hits when you examine it through the lens of your rising sign. So, if you're here, hopefully you're Libra rising. If not, I'll leave the link to the playlist in the description box below so you could check out your rising sign. Or maybe if you're cross watching and you want to know what's good with your boo this year, you can also cross watch for their rising sign as well. All right. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So let's begin by talking about the core transits that are happening this year and how they affect you as a Libra rising. Now, just remember, this is meant to be general. If you want more specific information, I have an extended forecast with some extras that I'll link in the description box below. And if you want to know more specifically what it means for you based off your natal chart, then you'll definitely want to schedule my 2026 year ahead reading. The link for that will also be in the description box below. But first and foremost, let's talk about the major astrological event for 2026, which is the fact that Saturn and Neptune are moving into Aries. Now, at the time that I'm filming this, Neptune is moving into Aries today. Today, baby. So it's definitely an energetic shift that we're all feeling and that we're definitely all seeing given everything that's going on. Okay. But in any event, as a Libra rising, Aries is your seventh house of relationships. And that's why you're going to have an emphasis on relationships for the very foreseeable future. Now, Saturn is going to spend about 2.5 to 3 years in your seventh house of Aries, but Neptune is going to spend 24, not 24, 14. I don't want to scare you too much, right? But that being the case, it's not to say that every other area of life isn't going to have anything going on for the next decade. It's just that relationships are going to be sort of the driving force. They're going to be the area of life where things kind of always default back to and where you're being tasked to create something new. Aries is the sign of initiation. It's the first sign of the zodiac. And it's interesting because Saturn and Neptune operate in almost opposite ways. Saturn and Aries in your seventh house wants you to build new relationships, point blank, period. However, these relationships are structured, they're a bit more mature. And when I say mature, I don't mean that you're immature, that you're always dating immature people, unless that is the story of your life. It's more about having relationships that are structured, that are stable, that are a little less than impulsive. With Aries as your seventh house, maybe you tend to be impulsive when it comes to relationships. Maybe you're always starting new relationships. Maybe your relationships are very much based off your instinct, impulse, and how you feel in the moment. Saturn and Aries wants you to slow things down a little bit. This is more about quality over quantity. So, whatever new relationships you're beginning, and seventh house relationships are long term relationships. So, these are your marriages, your committed partnerships, or any sort of relationship where you're contractually bound, meaning that it's a business partnership, you've signed a contract with somebody. So, Saturn and Aries wants you to start new ones, but new ones that are more grounded, structured, and less impulsive, particularly relationships that can stand the test of time, relationships that can grow with you, relationships that may be a little less than sexy, but definitely more stable, grounded, and commitment based, right? So Saturn wants you to do that. So Saturn is the builder here. Neptune, on the other hand, is the dissolver. So simultaneously, what's happening for you in your seventh house is that you're building these new relationships that are a little more grown, a little less impulsive. And Neptune is dissolving the ones that are too fantastical, too emotional, too impulsive. So you're simultaneously cleaning house and building new structures when it comes to relationships. This is great, especially if you are looking to get married, be in a committed relationship. But perhaps first, that may mean you have to let go of certain relationships. You have to dissolve them. You have to get divorced or you have to get separated. Same thing with business partnerships, right? This is going to be a situation where now you're forming business partnerships and collaborations that make sense, that are maybe more resource based, where you're thinking more about, okay, how is this going to help me in the long run? How is this going to help me secure wealth? As opposed to, oh, this sounds like a really dope idea in the moment, or oh, this is really trendy right now, right? Saturn wants stability in your relationship sector. And again, being the relationship sign, this is definitely going to affect you in a way that's very dynamic. The seventh house is one of the more dynamic houses. And remember, relationships are merely a reflection of us. So as you're building these new relationships, expect your own relationship with yourself and even your own identity and personality to change as well. This is going to be a really interesting time for you nonetheless. All right. The next thing that's going on in terms of core transits is Uranus moving into Gemini, and this is happening in your ninth house of expansion. So, apart from starting new relationships and really having a focus on that, Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini beginning in April, and it's going to stay there for 8 years. Now, Uranus is very erratic, it sort of shakes things up. It's very much about, surprises, changes. This is going to be new ways to communicate, new ways to relate to people. It's going to be a very intellectual revolution, if I'm being honest. And with this happening in your ninth house of expansion, there's so much for you to learn and experience, and Uranus is going to want you to do it. So there could be a lot of perhaps random or sudden trips, perhaps to places overseas, places you've never been before, communicating with people of different creeds, different religions, different backgrounds that ultimately give you a more beautiful and more robust sense of wisdom. Okay. But here's the thing, it's very tumultuous. Uranus, oftentimes with Uranus, it feels like there's no rhyme or reason. Things can literally be random, things can be like a thunderbolt. Okay. And with that, you kind of have to roll with the punches. So this means that oftentimes you may be dragged out of your comfort zone. You may go someplace where you initially feel uncomfortable because it is so different. You may be required to stretch your mind and really engage with and maybe even accept beliefs that are wildly different than your own. Remember, the ninth house is the house of expansion. It's also the house of transformation. So allow the universe to mold you, to stretch you, especially your mind and your viewpoint. You will definitely benefit from that in the long run. And then the last important transit that is happening in 2026 is Jupiter moving into the sign of Leo. Now, this is happening in the summer, it's happening in June. So, this is really energy that's really going to play out in the second half of the year. However, Jupiter moving into Leo is going to highlight and expand your 11th house. Now, this is going to expand your friendships, it's going to expand your network. It may make you very social, right? So, I want to give you sort of a broad picture of what's happening for you this year. You have a focus on relationships. Now, these are one to one relationships. These are your interpersonal relationships, your committed relationships, and your business obligations. Well, at the same time, you're being expanded out of your comfort zone with Uranus entering Gemini. So you're going to meet a lot of people and perhaps talk to and engage with a lot of different people. And then at the same time, at least beginning in the middle of the year, moving into 2027, you have Jupiter moving into Leo, which is your 11th house of friendships. So, arguably, 2026 can be a really social year for you. And that socialness, right? Being able to talk to different people, expanding your friendships and your network could ultimately feed into that seventh house relationships of building interpersonal relationships. So it's almost like you're going out into the world, you're meeting new people, and then you have the ability to form these close personal relationships with them, either romantically or business wise. So this is a year that's going to be social for you, which is right right up your alley because y'all are a social sign, so that makes sense, okay? But with Jupiter moving into Leo, this is expanding your friendship. So meeting new people, new networks, new groups. It's also a great time to think of new plans because the 11th house is what we like to call in astrology the house where you wish upon a star. So it's where you can make new goals, have new dreams. And because Jupiter expands things, this may be a year where you make really big plans. Now, the one thing I'll say when it comes to new friends and new associations and all of that, they should be with people who number one, reflect who you authentically are. Okay, so maybe this is a year where you need to really hunker down and figure out who you are at your core, and then start to commune with people that reflect that or resonate with that. This isn't the year to just have friends for the sake of friendships. And no shade, but you guys tend to do that because you guys are very social. You're very charismatic. Y'all know a lot of people. Y'all may call a lot of people friends, but really they don't resonate with who you are and who you are becoming. Remember, Saturn and Neptune in Aries is not only working on your relationships, it's working on you. So as you evolve as a person, your friendships will likely do the same as well. Number two, especially if you're joining new groups and associations, this really speaks to your passion projects, things that you're passionate about, things that you love. Your friendships and your associations are meant to be a source of joy, and Jupiter is going to expand that. But keep in mind that Jupiter expands anything that it touches. So if you've got shitty friends, if you're in associations that drain you, or there's a lot of drama, that is going to expand as well. And perhaps for good reason. Maybe it's to show you what you need to move away from. But either way, this is definitely going to be a social year for you when it comes to Jupiter in Leo, when it comes to Uranus in Gemini, and even when it comes to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So, this is the year of being social, the year of the other, and the start of uh, a revolution, a mental revolution for you, but also the start of structuring new relationships that could be long lasting in your life. Now, the other thing that I want to discuss is the eclipses for 2026. Now, there's a lot of astrological activity, and I'm really only giving you what's super important and that should be top of mind. And for me, that always includes eclipses because eclipses are the universe's way of taking the wheel. It's the time when we relinquish control and we let the universe do its thing. A lot of times, if you ever look back and you're trying to think about when things have happened, like if you look back at a year and you think about, oh, back in May, this thing happened or something dynamic happened, oftentimes it usually happens around the time of the eclipse because the eclipse is sort of the eclipses are inflection points within the year. So I love to be able to give that information to you so you kind of know what to anticipate. All right. So this is a year where we're kind of in transition. We're moving between stories. So the eclipses happen at the lunar nodes. I'm pretty sure you've heard the term north node and south node. These 2 points in the sky is where the eclipses happen. Okay. Now, the north node and the south node stay in a set of signs for 18 months. Okay. So for 18 months, we have a story. I like to think of eclipses as a saga, and it's like tag team situations, events, or inflection points that happen in certain areas of your life. Okay. So for the last 18 months or since the beginning of 2025, that story has been happening between Virgo and Pisces. Okay. And so for you, that is, where are we here? Your 12th house of Virgo and your 6th house of Pisces. So this story of work, spirituality, what's real, what's fantastical, and service has been the story that's been playing out. And that story is ending this year. And simultaneously, you're going to have the Leo Aquarius story begin. And so for you, that is your fifth house of Aquarius and your 11th house of Leo. Okay. So the first eclipse is happening in Aquarius on February 17th, and this is happening in your fifth house. So the fifth house is the house of romance, it's the house of children, it's the house of self expression. It's a solar eclipse, so this means that there's going to be something new happening there. You could meet someone new. This could be a surprise pregnancy. This could be a creative endeavor. It could be like the universe sending a thunderbolt your way with a creative idea, right? That could really take you into the future. That maybe has to do with tech. But either way, on the romantic, creative, fun childhood front, there's something new happening beginning in February. Thereafter, on March 3rd, there is a lunar eclipse in Virgo, and this is happening in your 12th house. So, this is the ending of that Virgo Pisces story. And this ending is going to be very prophetic because it's happening in your 12th house. So, this is going to be one of those situations where you're having super vivid dreams, you're having downloads, you are making sense of your inner world. You've been doing this since the beginning of 2025, whether you realize it or not. And then come the beginning of March, all of that is going to come to a culmination. So this may be a new belief system. This may be a new way of thinking, a new way of being, a new way of relating to yourself, even. So pretty profound. Then the next eclipse or set of eclipses is going to be happening in August. The first of which is a solar eclipse in Leo. And this is happening on August 12th, and this is happening in your 11th house. So it's a solar eclipse. And we already talked about Jupiter moving into Leo. So at this time, there's going to be a heavy emphasis on friendship. There's also going to be heavy emphasis on associations as well as ambition. So this could mean new friends, new groups to associate with, a new big dream or goal that you want to go after, something that you feel hyped about, motivated, passionate. This could even be a romantic thing. It could really be really great initiative kind of energy. Okay, so look forward to that at the beginning of August. And then at the end of August, we have the final chapter of that Virgo Pisces eclipse axis. And this is a lunar eclipse in Pisces, which is happening on August 28th, and it's happening in your sixth house of work and health. So at that point, there's going to be this energy of closing something, of completing something, of a work project ending, of a new service that's now online and has come to fruition. Could also be the culmination of a health issue. Either way, at the end of August, you're going to be closing that chapter. All right. So just to recap, we have the first set of eclipses in February and March, and that's happening in Aquarius and Virgo respectively. And then in August, we followed up with Leo and Pisces. All right. And so at that point, we're moving into this new story of Leo and Aquarius, which should be extremely interesting. All right. So think, not think, because you'll only realize this once you reflect on it, but keep an eye out for February into March and August. This is when you might experience some dynamic situations or events happening in your life. All right, Libra. So let's recap what 2026 is going to be looking and feeling like for you in a nutshell. So, first of all, major emphasis on relationships as Saturn and Neptune will be moving into your seventh house of Aries. So, you're starting new relationships that are a little more grown, a little more mature, but more importantly, are long lasting, less impulsive, more longevity. You also have Uranus moving into your ninth house of expansion. It's moving into Gemini. So for you, this is going to be jailbreaking your mind. This is going to have you experiencing a whole bunch of new and exciting things. It's also going to be quite busy. So keep that in mind. And that begins in April. Then we've got Jupiter moving into Leo, which is your 11th house of friendships and goals. So not only do you have Jupiter moving into Leo, but there's also going to be a solar eclipse there as well. So this is going to be a year of expansion when it comes to friends, when it comes to associations and groups that you belong to, as well as goals, ambitions, and dreams. So essentially, this is going to be a year that's pretty social. And I really feel like that socialness when it comes to friends, when it comes to interacting with new and different people, can help feed your seventh house of Aries, where Saturn and Neptune are going to be, so that you can form more interpersonal relationships, either romantically or business wise. So essentially, be you this year. Be social, be charismatic, be yourself, and see how your friendship changes, how your friendships change. Take notice of what relationships you desire to start right now, right? And also allow the universe to jailbreak your mind. Allow the universe to give you a mental revolution where you're experiencing so many different things, so many different people, and being exposed to a lot of different cultures, creeds, and beliefs. All right. So either way, 2026 is by no means a dull year for you. All right, my loves, thanks so much for tuning into this video. Again, if you want more specific information, then you should get well, there's two ways you can do that. Let me back up a second. So first, if you want a little more information and if you want the specifics on the dates that everything is happening, along with journal prompts and ways to use the energy, then you will want to purchase my 2026 Rising Sign Map, Libra Edition, which gives you all of that and more. It's an extended video with more information on the astrology, plus a PDF guide to help you throughout the year. If you're interested, the link is in the description box below. It's also tagged to this video. But if you want more, if you want the specifics on what 2026 looks like for you, then again, sign up for my 2026 year ahead reading. Now, I only offer this until the end of February, so spots are limited. After that, after February, I won't be offering it. So if you're interested, sign up sooner rather than later. The link to that is in the description box below as well. All right, my loves, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.